Hi everyone and welcome back to this channel. My name is Nurse O, and today with me in this video is my guest, Mr. Jerry, who will be giving us a detailed explanation on permanent residency as one of the best routes to migrate to Canada. Mr. Jerry, you're welcome to my channel.
Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Jerry, and as mentioned before in this video, I will be discussing the Express Entry as a major way of migrating to Canada. Express Entry is a program launched by Federal Government of Canada around 2015, and since then it has been a very successful program because it's a program that has helped Canadian government to attract best talent around the world. So in this video, I just want to give a synopsis of the steps that we need to follow if you want to participate in Express Entry. There are basically about 7 to 8 steps. I will be very concise on this step because I don't want this video to be too long so that it will not be boring. But I want to give some very useful information on each of these steps. Number one thing we need to do is to write IELTS test. So IELTS is International English Language Testing System. There are two basic IELTS tests, which is general and academic, but for the purposes of immigration to Canada, we need a general test. So you'll be tested on 4 basic language skills, which is listening, writing, reading, and speaking. In all of these 4, you need a minimum of 7 points, except for listening when you will be required to score 8. So IELTS has the highest band in the test is 9 points. So for listening, I repeat again, you need minimum of 8, and for the rest of the skill, you need minimum of 7. So after you write and pass this test, then you're ready to start your journey. So the next thing you're going to do is to do your educational credential evaluation, which some people call ECA or ECAP. So the most recognized body to do your credential evaluation is WES. WES is World Educational Services. So what you do is you apply to WES, you fill the form, you indicate reason why you need the assessment, the purpose of migration to Canada, and the rest of the form like that. Make sure the form is filled correctly, and you'll be given a reference number. This reference number has to be quoted on all your communication with WES. So the next thing is to apply to your school where you've graduated for your transcript, and you quote this number. This is your reference number on your transcript, and WES will require your school to directly mail your transcript to them. So let me mention at this point that Express Entry work better for people who has minimum of 2 postgraduate diploma. For example, if you have a bachelor and you have a master's, you must have 2 postgraduate diploma, and one of them must be minimum of 3 years. Also, when you want to do your evaluation, you don't have to evaluate the 2 credentials, you just need to do 1, and usually that's the highest one. So for example, if you have bachelor and master's, you can do only your master's. If you have PhD, you can do only your PhD. But it doesn't there's no harm in doing all the evaluation for all the credential you have if you choose to. So when you submit your application for this evaluation and you pay the fee, after the evaluation is done, the purpose of the evaluation is to determine if your level of education is equivalent to the Canadian standard. So after this has been done, a report will be issued to you, and the report will indicate whether you meet the requirement or your level of education is not comparable to Canadian standard. Usually, except in few cases, probably when the school is not accredited by the educational authority of your country. I think most schools around the world, especially if it is university level, they are usually comparable to Canadian standard. So after you've done your educational evaluation, educational credential evaluation, the next thing is to create your Express Entry profile. Now, let me sound this note of warning. Creation of Express Entry profile has to be carefully done because this is the first point of you exchanging information with the immigration authority in Canada, and you must make sure that all the information you're going to be supplying, they are true and accurate, because uh, this is an agency of government that keeps your record for a very long time, because there's every tendency that you might apply for more than one thing, because some people might have applied for maybe a visit visa or like a student visa and they are denied, and now you want to apply for permanent residency, you cannot supply different information. So you have to be consistent, you have to be truthful in all the information you provide for the immigration authority. So when you create your express entry profile, as a principal applicant, you create a profile, you supply all your information, you feed the information for your spouse, for your children, depending on the number of children you have. And then after you have created your profile, now while you are creating your profile, you can actually simulate your score, because you can know how much you score. So because this is not hidden, a point will be awarded for you based on your age, based on your level of education, based on your ability to communicate in English, which I've mentioned the other time, and several other ranking factors. So after you've simulated your score, you know how much to score. If you fill the form correctly, at the end of the day, when you are creating this profile, at the end of creation of your profile, you will see how much you've actually scored in terms of the comprehensive ranking system. So when you create your profile, then your name goes into the express entry pool. So every 2 weeks, the immigration usually draw from the pool depending on the benchmark they want to use during a particular draw. For example, if they want to pick people from 450 to 500, if your mark fall within the rank, within the range of the mark they want to select, then you're going to receive an invitation. If it doesn't fall within that range, then you just need to wait until they make another draw that will fall within the range of your mark. So while you are waiting, it's usually encouraged that people should start looking for job in Canada. Some people will be lucky while they are waiting in the pool, they will have already got a job. Some people will not be exactly lucky, they won't get a job until they come to Canada. So whichever way, it doesn't matter whether you get a job before you come or you don't get a job, it's not really a problem. So now, after you have been selected from the pool, based on your score, you receive what is called ITA. ITA is an invitation to apply, and this is when you actually submit an express entry application. Now let me mention here that while you're waiting in the pool, I usually encourage people to gather their document, because they're going to need a lot of document for this application. You will need all your educational credentials. Some people will need recommendation letter from their employer. You will need police character certificate that you're not a criminal, you're not on any charges. So you need a lot of documents. So while you're waiting in this pool, it's usually a good time to create a folder on your laptop and start gathering your document, because don't forget, it's going to be an online application. This is not a paper-based application. So while you're waiting, get out your document and get ready for your application. So when you receive an ITA, it's time for you to now submit your application. So while you're filling your form, like I mentioned the other time, make sure all the information, they are true, they are accurate, they are correct. And after you submit your application, you usually have to carry out a medical test, and this medical test has to be done in some specific designated hospital, depending on the country where you are from. So the Immigration Canada has made arrangement across different countries, and they have some specific hospital where they want you to visit to conduct this test. So after you've done the test, you'll be given like a reference number on which you're going to quote on your application. Usually the results will not be released to you. The result will be released directly to the immigration authority, and there's a mechanism through which they link results to your application. People used to ask questions: if I'm pregnant, am I supposed to? Yeah, there's no, it's not a crime. Whatever your situation is, they're not going to usually reject your application because you have one particular ailment or the other, but they just want to know the state of your medical, the state of your health. They want to know your medical history. If there's anything of concern, they want to be aware of it. And also, you also be required, after you submit your application, you also be required to do a biometric capturing. So usually you go to the specific designated center for your biometrics. In Nigeria, I know this is usually done at VSF in Lekki. I think somewhere around Admiralty Road, if I'm correct. In several other countries, depending on uh, the agency or the organization that has been contracted by the Canadian Immigration Agency to do this biometrics. So what they do for you, they do your facial capturing, your fingerprint, they check your passport and every other thing. So after you submit your application, what next? Then you wait for response from the immigration. Uh, the length of time for processing differs depending on the processing offices, because some application will be sent to Canadian office, some will be sent to other offices around the world. The processing time is usually 6 months. Some people might be lucky, it might be shorter than that. Some people might not be exactly lucky, it might be 6 months on the dot. Some people might be a little bit longer. It also depends on if you fill all your information correctly and you have provided all the documents required. Some people, while they are submitting their application, they do not provide all the necessary information. So you might receive something like additional document required. So if you have a response like additional document required, it usually slows down your application, because by the time they're waiting to get that information from you, they start processing the information all over again. But it's usually encouraged that take your time, read about it, make sure that you are providing all the necessary information when you're submitting your application. And part of the document you're going to need is, for example, you need a proof of fund, because the Canadian authority wants you to prove that you have enough money to support yourself and your family when you come to Canada, so that you not be a burden on the system, or you not, probably you have some friends in Canada, they don't want you to constitute nuisance around here. Just in case you don't get a job immediately you arrive in Canada, they want you to assure them that you have some money that's going to support you and your family. So after you submit your application, what next? You wait for response. Usually they conduct a background check on your application. They want to make sure that all the information you submitted to them is true. They'll do your background check. If you pass the background check, then the next thing is they'll make a determination on your application. So once your application is reviewed and is favorably determined, then you'll be issued what is called COPR, which is confirmation of permanent residency. Prior to the issuance of COPR, usually they will request for your passport. You submit your passport, they take your passport for processing. It might take a couple of weeks, usually 2-3 weeks, depending on the office again, where it's your application is being processed. So once your passport is returned back to you, it usually comes with a visa, which you're only going to make use of once in a lifetime. So once it comes with that visa, you just use that visa to travel to Canada once, and that visa expires automatically. So you travel to Canada with that visa on your passport and your confirmation of permanent residence, which you're going to sign in Canada when you enter Canada. And after you get this document, the next thing is to start making your preparation and arrangement for traveling. You buy your ticket, make arrangement with your friends and family in Canada to get an accommodation, depending on your pulse at this time, whether you want to get an accommodation, you want to get an apartment before you arrive in Canada, or you want to come in Canada, stay in an hotel briefly, or Airbnb for some time before you it all depends on whichever system works best for you. But usually once you get these two documents, you're ready to come to Canada. Yeah, I usually encourage people if you have. I know many people are always eager to travel, but yeah, it's something that requires a conscious planning. It's always good to plan your departure from your home country. Make sure that everything is set on motion. Get everything you need. Don't make your traveling decision in haste because you might not want to go back anytime soon. So get all your things ready and welcome to Canada. Yeah, that's it. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. Like you are so short and precise regarding the process. But I have just about one, I think just one question to ask you, and
Okay.
I will just make some additions that I think they are also important. So my question is this: if, for example, a couple is planning to come to Canada through PR,
Yeah.
do you think it's advisable for the two of them to create separate application, or just the husband can be the primary applicant while the wife is the dependent?
No. So the whole essence of permanent resident of express entry is for like family migration, right? Like everybody in the family. So for a couple, you don't need to create two separate application. One person is going to be the principal applicant and the other person will be a dependent. And all your information of your children, depending on the number of children you have, everything is going to be in a single application. Now, I've had this question severally. People ask, who's supposed to be the principal applicant? Is it the husband and the wife? It doesn't matter. Uh, the person that is going to be the primary applicant is the person that has the highest score. So it's usually encouraged that you simulate your score, try and calculate your score before you create a profile. Or for example, if the husband has a master's degree, the husband should be the principal applicant. If the wife has only diploma, of course the husband is going to have more points based on education. But also, mark is being awarded for age. For example, if the husband is in the range of anywhere above 45, you will have lost most of your points on age. And let's say the wife is just like 30 or less than 30, of course the wife is going to have more points on age. So it's usually advisable that the two couples should calculate their score based on all the factors that is known to them: their education, their age, their work experience,
English
their English
results.
results, and every other thing. And whoever has the highest score should just be the principal applicant, and the other person is the dependent. Yeah, that's
Okay.
how it works. So for a family, two people don't need to create a separate application.
Okay, thank you so much, because I was thinking if the two of them create separate application, maybe one can get nominated more earlier than the other one. So that was what I was thinking about.
Okay, I think nomination is a different thing. Yeah, once you create an express entry profile and you have submitted your application, no, when you create your profile, depending on the points you have, it's usually also encouraged that you check the website of different provinces and look at the program they have, because some of the provinces usually run provincial nomination program every now and then. They ask people that have specific skill. Some province like currently now like New Brunswick, they are given preferences to nurses. Some provinces want people in the tech, people in the IT field. So depending on the skill that is needed in that province at that particular time, so check on their website, look at what are the kind of skill they are requesting for, and if you meet any of those criteria, they usually a link for you to click to submit your application. And once you are in the pool and you have the skill they request for, and you signify your intention to live in that province, you usually get a nomination. And once you get a nomination, it's almost like automatic that you are going to be given an IT, because a provincial nomination will give you 600 points, which is a lot, because you might not even need up to 600 points to qualify under the federal skill worker. So yes, provincial nomination is a very good way of boosting your score. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And I also have, I think, just 2 points to add to this presentation. And the first thing is, for nurses, this information is particular to the nurses. So if you are planning to do your credential evaluation and you don't have master's degree, please don't use WES for your evaluation. You can use other bodies such as ICAS, or IQAS. There are other different bodies, but once you don't have your master's degree, please don't use WES because you will surely get not comparable to Canadian standard. And another thing is, when you are already preparing to come to Canada, please always read about Canadian culture, because by the time you come in, you will find yourself in some situations whereby you have some shock,
like cultural shock.
cultural shock. So like when I first came to Canada, I remember when I want to greet anybody on my way, I always want to bend my head as a sign of respect. So later I noticed that some people might not even answer me because possibly it's also shocking to them seeing me bending for them, like, you know. So later I got to realize that you address everybody by their first name. Even your father at home, you just use their first name to address them, not Mr., Mrs., you know. But we in Nigeria or outside of Canada, we always want to show some level of respect, like Mr., oh daddy. No, that is not what is applicable in Canada. I also remember when I first came, I always want to assist people by collecting their bags from them, you know. In our country, we are so fond of it. Oh, my matron is coming, let me quickly rush down to collect their bag. No, they will just, you know, stylishly let you know that this is their personal belongings. So they will not want to give their bag to you. So please, as soon as you get your invitation to apply, like, it's a good sign that you will surely get a nomination, and at the end of the day you'll be given your COPR. So plan as much as possible also to read about Canadian culture, so that when you come over here you won't be shocked. Even if you be shocked, it won't be too much for you. So this will be the end of this presentation on PR pathway, and in my next video I'm going to be discussing about I'm going to be discussing about student route for people who are also planning to migrate to Canada, and they are thinking maybe they haven't been able to pass their IELTS and they are looking for another route to migrate to Canada, and they are thinking of looking for admission. So I'll be making another video just to give them some highlights on how to go about it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please don't forget to like this video and drop any of your comments for me, any of your questions for me in the comment section as well. And most importantly, please don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you get notified each time I drop a new video. And as much as possible, please don't just watch this video alone. Please subscribe to my channel, you know. I love you so much. Please stay safe out there.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, my guest, for coming.
Thank you.